There are as many opinions about music as there are people, so I hope you may like my lifelong love for music. I will straight away quote Plato, a central figure of ancient Greek philosophy, born 423 and died in 348 BC. He once said, "Music gives wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything." To those wise and inspirational words, I will just add that throughout my life, music has always given me solace and encouragement in times of sadness, and whatever divide people, music will always unite them. Music has simply been a natural and influential partner since I was about 18 months old, when my mother, who graduated as accomplished pianist from the Copenhagen Conservatoire, planted me daily on her piano stool. My active engagement with music has been from I was about 4 to 14 years old, a short period in 1984 to 1986 as manager of a Swedish pop group, and from 1994 when I founded my classical label Bel Air Music, which are still trading today. My mother taught me to play the piano from I was about 4, and later I had a private teacher until I was 14. Regrettably, while it was recognized that I had a great ear for music, I was never going to be a child prodigy, and as I was absorbed by my dream of becoming a racing driver, which you will understand if you watch my first film about motor racing, my teacher insisted that I had to choose, and motor racing won, at least at that time. Even so, I will always remember the last piece I learned, the Mozart Piano Sonata number 16, that I later taught exactly the same piece to my children. This period was never wasted, as music was always there in the back of my mind, while motor racing took over. At the time, Copenhagen had become a sort of melting pot for international jazz musicians when they came to perform at concerts, like Jazz at the Philharmonics, here at concert in the 1950s Copenhagen with Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, Chet Baker, Jerry Mulligan, Barney Kessel, and Gene Krupa. They liked to join in jam sessions after their concerts, so I started a jazz club together with a Danish jazz musician, and we had many of them coming to play after their concerts. However, as my business took off, I no longer had time to be actively involved with music until the period 1984-1986, when I was about 48. Having established a successful professional career, now living in England and having time to experiment with management of a pop group, and through a UK record company, I was put in touch with a Swedish trio calling themselves Feg, who was looking for a UK manager. They had just had a #1 hit in Italy, so I went to Stockholm to meet them. We signed a contract in 1985, and I set to work. After 3 months, I'd secured a publishing contract and a record deal with Warner Brothers, only to receive a call shortly after that the trio, the two boys and the girl Rika had split up, so all my work felt somewhat wasted. Still, I signed the girl Rika to do a demo tape for Warner Bros. And got the rights for her to perform 3 songs, one by Charlie Dore called This Could Be My Celebration, and 2 by Anthony Moore, Your Stars and No Sentimental Man. We recorded in Dave Gilmour's Pink Floyd studio with Anthony Moore as producer and Nick Griffith as sound engineer. Although not bad, regrettably Warner Bros. Decided not to proceed, so I put it down to an interesting learning experience and moved on. A family travel around the world was now on the cards, and music was again put in the background until 1994, when it finally became my permanent occupation, which I had always wanted it to be. I took a stand on the first property exhibition in Moscow in 1994, and among others, a young Russian couple visited my stand. We immediately struck up a good relation, and I remember clearly it was the 19th of June 1994. The following year, they invited me over to their wedding in October 1995, and on the table in my hotel room, I found a brochure about the Russian National Orchestra. Reading it, I took notice of the name of the manager and called him to set up a meeting the next day. Following my return to Monaco, I found myself having booked 7 of major classical works. There were one snag, however. The Russian National Orchestra and the conductor, Mikhail Pletnev, had a contract with Decca. However, typically Russian, the manager suggested that we change the name to the New Russia Orchestra, and we hired the Bolshoi Theatre conductor Andrei Chistyakov. So in fact, my first recordings were performed by the best orchestra in Russia under another name and conductor. Now I had to quickly find a name for my record label, and as I had just sold Chateau Bel Air in the southwest of France, the name Bel Air Music came naturally to me. I went to Moscow in November 1995 to be present at the recordings and learn the ropes of my new adventure. I received the digital master tapes in December 1995 and the 7 CDs in January to March 1996, receiving excellent reviews in the UK. During the recordings, I made friends with the first solo violinist, Alexei Bruni, who introduced me to his American friend, Elizabeth Hammonds, that 3 years later arranged a series of recitals in Oklahoma with the 2 pianists, Andrei Pisarev and Pavel Nersessian, who had performed on my first recordings. Meanwhile, in 1998, I was invited by the Russian Academy of Science to talk about the new audio file format MP3 at seminars in Moscow and the Polytechnic Institute in Kiev, Ukraine. Having researched it, not only did it reduce the file size to 10% of the WAV format, making it faster to transfer via the internet, but also made it easy for people to create their own playlists. Realizing that classical CD sales had topped about this time and was declining slowly, perhaps I had started my label a bit late. Anyway, still I plowed on. Later in 2000, Elizabeth Hammonds had put me in touch with the pianist Valery Kuleshov, prize winner in the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition, New York in 1993, with whom I recorded Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, and later he performed it live in St. Petersburg the 13th of June 2000. Kuleshov is here performing the last bars in the third and final movement of the Concerto number 3. Having always loved organ music since I was about 12, sneaking into my village church, Torbæk Kirke, after school, listening to the organist practicing. In Moscow, I was introduced to one of Russia's leading organists, Ekaterina Melnikova, with whom I agreed to make a recording of 3 Handel organ concertos and her own transcription of Camille Saint-Saëns' Carnival des Animaux in the Cathedral of Monaco in 2000. We received the blessing of the curator, Pierre Blanc, and upon completion of the recording, a thank you letter from His Highness Prince Rainier III. In November 1999, I discovered the great Russian film music written by top composers like Shostakovich, Prokofiev, Khataturian, and Taiverdiev, etc. At the time, this music was sparingly recorded in the West, so at once I did my first Russian film music recording of A Couple in a Cafe by Mikhail Taiverdiev that fascinated me especially. I got in contact with Taiverdiev's widow, Vera, who gave me permission to record it among 16 other Russian film music soundtracks, and the CD was released in January 2000. It was an instant success, receiving 5-star reviews, and was followed up by further 7 recordings until 2013. I had certainly found a niche that helped the CD sales. Later on, I created and recorded 2 Russian film music double albums. Both albums has about 20 to 24 film music tracks on the CD, and uniquely on the DVD they have the short film clips with my high-quality recorded tracks replacing the original film's low-quality soundtracks. Here you are watching a short clip from The Captivating Star of Happiness from 1975.
Николай Николаевич спит. Отсутствует, ваше превосходительство. Они с Софьей Алексеевной изволят в Белой церкви гостить. Ступай. Здравствуй, Мария. Прости, что не приехала раньше. Это было не в моей власти.
By coincidence, really, in 2000, another special addition to the Bel Air Music Catalog was my discovery of a practically unknown Italian composer by the name Aldo Finzi. My conductor friend Dmitry Yablonsky had called, telling me that he was to conduct a concert in the cathedral in Porto Gruaro, just north of Venice, and he suggested that I drive over from Monaco to join him. I stood in the right vestry of the cathedral when the concert started with a short overture called Nunquam Sinfonia Romana. My ears pricked, and after, the conductor, the pianist, the orchestra, and the composer's son, Bruno Finzi, all sat down to a late dinner in the piazza behind the cathedral. I sat opposite Bruno Finzi, and during the meal, I spontaneously asked him, "Would you permit me to record Nunquam?" He was very pleased and said, "Yes, by all means." That is how I discovered Aldo Finzi, and since Bel Air Music has recorded all his major works. The music of Aldo Finzi was selected as Discovery of the Month in the Classical FM magazine in 2003, and his music is now performed worldwide in places like Carnegie Hall, New York, etc. Finzi also wrote the comic opera La Serenata al Vento, which inspired the Croatian filmmaker Sanela Bajdrić to make a documentary called Serenade to the Wind. I thought at the time, here we are after so many years. This opera had been lying dormant, and here it was, for the first time, introduced for us. You know, music crosses borders. It's make people join rather than separate. And again, like, you have fanatics in all. There are two things which I normally never touch upon. That's religion and politics, because they're the ones who discriminate people, make people fight. But music makes people come together. Talking about opera, I published another rare opera by the name Catherine versus Zone Libra by Erik Wolfgang Kongold, performed live at the Marseille Festival Musique Interdite, the 8th of July 2014. Here an excerpt from the introduction and start of the performance. During the past 10 to 15 years, I have worked with the Serbian international concert pianist Mira Jevtić, with whom I have published 5 CDs, and she has over time become a very close friend. Here is an excerpt of her performing the last bars of Rhapsody for Piano and Orchestra. I have been lucky enough to work solely with music over the past 27 years, publishing a total of 74 titles that are all available for download from the iTunes Store and or in Apple Music. So, finally at 85, it is now time for me to hang up the baton, so to speak. Classical music was never the most profitable among my many activities, but I can assure you that it has given me a rich life with many friends and unforgettable memories that will last a lifetime, and I would not change it for the world. Music has been my loyal companion through thick and thin, so I will herewith say farewell with a quote by my favorite composer, Sergei Rachmaninoff. Music is enough for a lifetime, but a lifetime is not enough for music.